Good morning. My name is Nioka Lynn. It's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. There's snow out there. It just makes it all the brighter. Anyway, so yesterday I mentioned that I had a messenger, a visitation, and he reminded me about not taking time for granted and how I shouldn't take anything for granted. And then I thought about it this morning as I woke up. I like to lay there just a few minutes and acclimate into my morning. And I thought, well, why was that brought to my memory yesterday? I am not going to waste any more time. I know that I was inspired to write a book. My guides mentioned that all I call special things that I've experienced, I should write them all down. Well, I did, and I thought I was supposed to write a book. Maybe I am, I don't know. I just know that I have 4 different startups. That's a lot of pages and a lot of ink of trying to write a book. And I just wasn't feeling it. And I said, I have no problem telling my story. I have no problem sharing my experiences. So I'm going to talk. And anybody that knows me more on a personal level knows I don't have a problem with talking. And I can see my friend Chris right now. She's smiling big as I say this. Anyway, so that is my thing that I'm doing here, if anybody's curious. What is she doing? Why is she on here doing this? Because I'm supposed to share my story. And I love doing that. So if I can help anybody, great. If it's just entertainment, great. Okay, so yesterday I mentioned that I had a visitation, a messenger come to me to advise me not to take time for granted and not to take anything for granted. Okay, and then all of a sudden I started getting clocks and watches. And I mentioned that I had a dream. So I want to share that dream this morning. I dreamt that I was walking on a path. Now, when I was walking on this path, it was a narrow path, and I had a long rod in my hand, and it looked to me like teak wood, very smooth, so pretty, and it was all etched out like hand carved, and at the end of it was a serpent's head. And I knew the purpose of this rod. As I walked through my path, I was hitting the sides of the path on the brush, the little bushes that I couldn't see. I was hitting each side. And I knew in my dream that it was, if there were any serpents on my path, they would hit the rod and I would not be affected. Well, I never thought about that when I had the dream. I was like, well, that makes sense to me. That's as far as it went into my understanding of that. It was just, if anything was in my path, it would hit the rod and not me. So as I'm moving along my path, I'm walking, and the path ends. There's nowhere else to go. It stops. But to the left of me, there's a little clearing, and I can see what looked like one of those old silver round travel trailers sitting there, and it was covered up by the brush. Trees had been growing over it, but you could see the couple of little steps, the doorway, and a little window in the door. So I walked up to the door and I knocked on the door, and there was a little window shade in this window, and I see the little window shade go up, and I see this man look down, and he smiled like, oh, like he was expecting me. So he opened the door, and I went in. Now I'm expecting as I walk in to see this little tight travel trailer. No, not at all. It was this huge room full of clocks, all kind of clocks, really old antique clocks, present day clocks, modern clocks, all kind of clocks in all different times. And I was amazed, and there was just so many of them, and I was looking all around, and he smiled, and he kind of like okay, and he walked out of the room, and that didn't bother me. I was just amazed at all the clocks. So after looking around a little bit, I walked through the doorway that he walked through, and I came to, I want to say it was a hallway, but it was a hallway that led to this stairway, this spiral stairway. And it looked like the same wood, the flawless wood, smooth, pretty wood that my rod was made of. And when I looked at this stairway, I looked down. It was endless. It was just endless. And I looked up. I couldn't see where it went into. And I remember thinking it just goes way up into eternity. And about the time I'm admiring this stairway, I hear some movement to the right of me, and the same gentleman come walking out, and he's just walking along, and he had a purse and a pair of shoes, and he gave them to me. He never spoke with words up to, well, to that point, but he smiled, and he gave me the shoes, and he gave me the purse. And in my dream, I remember thinking the purse is what I was going to need, the wealth that I was going to need, and the shoes was what I was going to need to walk this journey. So the wealth, and in my dream I knew that means your knowledge, and the shoes. So I was being equipped with what it was going to take to walk my journey. And I remember feeling tired, and I walked back into the first room, and it was getting dark, and out of nowhere appeared this big circular high, like a day bed. It was circular, and I climbed up on it, and I remember thinking, I'll just rest here a bit. And I heard movement again, and it was him, and he come walking through the doorway, and he was walking up to me, and I noticed that he had on a jacket, and he had 2 suitcases, and I looked at him, and I thought, you're leaving me? You're leaving? And he said, well, he just nodded his head, but then he spoke. No, first he kissed me on my mouth real quick, but like a fatherly kind of kiss, nothing intimate. And he smiled, and he said, I'll be back. He picked up the suitcases. He said, I'll be back for you in 5 years. I woke up. For the longest time, I thought, he's coming back for me in 5 years. Am I going to die in 5 years? Oh my goodness, am I going to die? So, so that stayed in the back of my mind. Well, after the 5 years, I wrote it down. I kept track of the 5 years, and I remember waking up on the anniversary, the 5th year, and I thought, well, I'm alive. I woke up, I'm still breathing, and I was so tickled. Well, I hadn't for the longest time understood what that meant. To me, what I got out of it at the time was whatever I needed for my journey, the knowledge that I needed would be given to me, and the shoes, the capability to walk. And I just took it as that. Well then, last year, as I mentioned yesterday, just last year, some things were brought back to my memory, and I saw it in a greater light, and I thought, oh my goodness, wow. So this thing that was hidden away, this travel trailer moving forward, was full of clocks. Those clocks, I guess you could say, were different incarnations that I had. The stairway that I looked at, yes, it was infinite. It was definitely infinite. I couldn't see where it began and I couldn't see where it ended up. The level I was on was the incarnation I was on. Now that may not seem significant to many, but to me, that was just amazing. That was one of my puzzle pieces to show me, yes, I am Nioka Lynn in this incarnation, but I am many. I have had many incarnations, or I am having many incarnations. That's another story for another day. But so that was very significant to me, and I loved it. I just loved it. I just know that all my little puzzle pieces are coming together. A very dear friend of mine who was a very powerful woman in God. That's another thing that was shown to me. I'll have to share that real quick. So I remember her praying, and this was after my youngest boy had passed away. I had a son, or I have a son, Carlos Francisco Morel. He passed one day before his 17th birthday in a car wreck. And of course, I was devastated, and I held a lot of grief inside for a very long time. And I remember one day before work, sitting out on a porch. And back then I used to smoke cigarettes. So I was smoking my cigarette, drinking my coffee. And I just needed to talk to her. I just needed somebody to get me going, because I just wanted to crawl back in bed and just not be up that day. And she prayed for me. And when she prayed for me, she said, well, Nikki, I don't understand what God's showing me. She says, but I have to share it because I know God's showing me this. And I said, well, what is it? And she said, God's showing me that even though Carlos has passed, he's no longer here in physical, you're going to be able to speak to him. You will be conversating with him like he never passed. Now, I didn't understand it back then. It was something for me to hang on to. I missed him. I was grieving terribly. And it was just something for comfort at the time. Now, I never forgot that. I never forgot that. And last year, after reading a book, there's a gentleman that lives on Cape Cod in Massachusetts. I guess I can say his name. His name is Stephen Masick, and he wrote a book called The Suicide Gift. And I read that book, and I recommend you read the book. You know, things happen in our life, and we don't understand at the time why. Later on, when you're still and you're capable of seeing something in a greater light, it'll be revealed to you. Something that seems so painful can seem like a gift later on. Now, you know, some would say, well, how is your son passing a gift? Well, maybe the way I'm receiving it now, the way I'm perceiving it now, I see it. When people pass in our lives, it brings a lot of grief. It brings up a lot of questions. It triggers things. I think humanity's like that when tragedies happen all over the world. We stop and we react in different ways. We help each other in different ways. Look at 9/11. How horrific was that? And you saw people coming all together. They didn't ask you, hey, before I dig you out of the rubble, what religion are you? Or if you're in the rubble and you're needing help, and someone comes by, before you let them help you, you don't say, hey, what religion are you? No. People We're here for people. We uplift each other. We encourage each other. We help each other. If you're a white person, an oriental person, whatever, and somebody of a different skin color, and I won't say race because we're the human race. I see us as one race with all different faces and colors, and I think we're all beautiful. But if you're a lighter skin tone and somebody with a darker skin tone reaches their hand out to pull you out of the rubble, are you not going to grab onto it because they're not the same skin tone as yourself? Nah, I doubt it. I doubt it. And you can flip the script. If you're of one skin tone and somebody from another skin tone is under the rubble, would you extend your hand? I would hope so. Anyway, I see the world in a different light now. I see balance where things that looked horrible and scary and abusive, I see them as a form of love. Now that might seem crazy, but I understand now about the balance. Oh, I have a greater understanding. I'm sure maybe a few years from now I'll see it in a greater light. Who knows? All I'm saying is there's lots of puzzle pieces. There's lots of things that we see, we don't understand. Don't disregard them. They're showing up for a reason. We may not understand everything that comes our way, but just stop, pause, ask, what is being shown to me? Why am I seeing this? Give me understanding about this. It's just a suggestion. So I am so appreciative of God, Source, my spirit team. That's another thing. I see God in a greater light. I appreciate my spirit team. We all have one. When we're born, we come in with one. They change ranks. But I am appreciative. I wrote a song some years ago. And you know, it's crazy because I looked up on my copyright page and to see what year it was, and now I forgot. Anyway, it's called My Love. In the song, before I sing it, and I won't be playing my guitar because I got a boo-boo. But in the song, it says that I obey. Now, I know a lot of folks who would say, oh, we're not slaves that we should obey. I use the word obey. But I'm going to tell you, I am going to listen to the instructions that my spirit team give me and God gives me, because that's what's gotten me to where I am. I don't think I'd be alive today if it were not for them and God. They're one. We're all one. Anyway. So I'm just going to sing the song. I can't play guitar with my Band-Aid. I tried and my fingers sore. So anyway, it's called My Love. My love, my heart, my joy, my King, my Savior, my healer, my Lord, my everything. No one knows me like you do. No one loves me quite like you. No one can compare to you. Oh, my love, you took my hand and captured my heart. You led me to a secret place. I ate, I drank, I danced, I wept, I basked in your embrace. You made a promise to love me always. You made a promise to be true. I made a promise to love and obey. My heart belongs to you. Oh, my love, my heart, my joy, my King, my Savior, my healer, my Lord, my everything. No one knows me like you do. No one loves me quite like you. No one can compare to you. Oh, my love. Yeah. You know, when I wrote that, I felt it with my whole heart. And now as I sing it, I see it in a greater light. I feel it even deeper. Pay attention to the signs. Walk in your light. Synchronicities show up. Do what you love. Keep your vibration high. Have no expectations about how things are supposed to turn out. Roll with the flow. The synchronicities will show up. Raise your vibration. Get happy about something. And when something doesn't make you happy, pause. Okay, what is this here to teach me? Walk in your light. If it's shown up, you're capable. You've got the shoes and the purse. You're capable. You'll never have more than you can handle. You're equipped. Yeah. Well, my name's Nioka Lynn. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I know I will. Namaste.